No ally came to save them. Until humanity's warship shattered the silence, the forsaken station relay station Gamma 7 floated in the darkness between stars, a metal island in an ocean of void. The station had been built as a neutral trading post, a place where dozens of species could meet and exchange goods without the politics of their homeworlds interfering. For 20 years, it had served that purpose well. Now, it was dying. Commander Kira Voss pressed her hand against the reinforced window of the command center, watching the sleek predator ships of the hegemony circle her station like sharks. 3 days ago, they had arrived with demands. Surrender, the station, submit to hegemony rule or face destruction. Kira had refused. The station was home to over 3,000 souls from 17 different species, and she wouldn't hand them over to become slaves or worse. The command center buzzed with activity as her small team worked desperately to maintain what defenses they had. The station had never been built for war. Its shields were designed to deflect micrometeorites, not plasma bombardment. Its weapons were meant to discourage pirates, not fight off an invasion fleet. "Commander, they're hailing us again," said Lieutenant Torres, a young human who had joined the station crew just 6 months ago. His face was pale with exhaustion, but his hands remained steady on the communications console. Kira turned from the window. She was tall for a human woman, with short gray hair that spoke of years of experience and stress. Her uniform, once crisp and clean, now bore scorch marks from where a power conduit had exploded during the last attack. "Put them through," she said. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the angular face of Subcommander Zektar of the Hegemony. His species, the Vorthak, had evolved on a high-gravity world, giving them dense bones and powerful muscles. Their skin was a mottled purple-gray and their eyes were completely black, reflecting no light. "Commander Voss," Zektar said, his voice carrying the mechanical tone of the universal translator. "This is your final opportunity. Surrender now, and I promise your people will be treated according to hegemony law. Continue to resist and I will take the station by force. Many will die needlessly." Kira straightened her shoulders. Around her, the command crew stopped their work to listen. She could feel their fear, their hope, all focused on her next words. "Subcommander, my answer remains the same. Gamma 7 is a free station under interstellar law. We have committed no crimes against the hegemony. Your presence here is illegal and we will defend ourselves." Zektar's expression didn't change, but she could see his fingers tap against his command chair, a sign of irritation among his species. "You have 1 hour to reconsider. After that, we will board your station and take it by force. Those who resist will be eliminated." The screen went dark. Kira turned to her crew. "You heard him. We have 1 hour. Torres, how many of our people have combat training?" "Maybe 60, Commander. Most are traders, families, refugees from the border conflicts. They came here for safety. And instead, they found another war," Kira said bitterly. She activated the station-wide communication system. "Attention all residents of Gamma 7. This is Commander Voss. The hegemony has given us 1 hour before they attack. All non-essential personnel are to report to the central habitat ring. Those with any combat or medical training, report to your section chiefs. We will not surrender. We will not abandon each other. We stand together." Down in the engineering, Section Chen Wei worked frantically on a piece of equipment that looked older than the station itself. Chen was small and wiry, with burn scars covering his left arm from an accident years ago. He had been going through the station's oldest storage areas, looking for anything that might help their defense, when he found it. An emergency beacon, but not just any beacon. This one bore markings he recognized from his grandmother's stories, symbols from Earth's early space exploration era. "This can't be right," he muttered, running his scanner over the device again. The beacon was human technology, but it was ancient, at least 100 years old. According to the barely readable inscription, it was designed to send a quantum-entangled signal directly to Earth's military command. The problem was Earth was thousands of light years away. Even if the beacon worked, even if someone received the signal, they could never arrive in time. But Chen was desperate. The station's shields were down to 30%. Their weapon, Systems were failing one by one. They needed a miracle. He connected his portable power unit to the beacon and began the activation sequence. The device hummed to life, its indicators glowing a soft blue. With shaking fingers, Chen input their coordinates and a simple message. Gamma 7 under attack, 3,000 civilians, please help. The beacon sent its signal out into the void, racing faster than light through quantum space, carrying their desperate plea toward a distant blue planet that most of the galaxy had forgotten about. In the medical bay, Dr. Anya Reeves prepared for the worst. She was a Centauri, one of the first species humanity had encountered when they ventured into space. Her people were healers by nature, with a deep understanding of biology across multiple species. She had 50 beds and supplies for maybe 100 casualties. If the hegemony breached the station, she would need 10 times that. "Doctor, we're moving the children to the inner sections," said her assistant, a reptilian saurid named Tak. "Should we evacuate the medical bay?" "No," Anya said firmly. "When the fighting starts, they'll need us here. Set up a secondary triage in Storage Bay 3. If we're overrun here, at least we'll have somewhere to fall back to." Security Chief David Okoro walked the station's outer corridors with his small team of defenders. Okoro was a big man, born on Earth, but raised on Mars. He had served in the Colonial Defense Force before retiring to what he thought would be a quiet job on a trading station. He had 12 real security officers and 48 volunteers, shopkeepers and traders who had never held a weapon before today. "Remember," he told them as they set up defensive positions, "we're not trying to win a war. We're trying to buy, and make them pay for every meter they take. Use the station's layout against them. These corridors are narrow. They can't bring their numbers to bear. Hit and run. Fall back to the next position. Make them think we have more defenders than we do." 1 hour passed too quickly. The first signs of attack came as vibrations through the station's hull. The hegemony, ships were firing breaching pods, metallic parasites that would attach to the station's exterior and cut through the hull. Alarms blared throughout Gamma 7 as multiple breaches were detected. "Hull breaches in sections 4, 7, and 12, Torres reported, his voice strained. "They're coming in from 3 directions." Kira watched the tactical display as red dots appeared on the station schematic, marking enemy positions. They were moving. Fast, too fast. Her defenders were already falling back from the outer sections. "Okoro, they're heading for the power core. If they take that, we lose life support." "Already on it, Commander." Okoro's voice crackled over the comm. The sound of weapons fire could be heard in the background. "We're making them work for it." Chen was still in engineering when the first hegemony soldiers broke through. They were Vorthak like their commander, wearing heavy combat armor that made them look even more imposing. Chen grabbed the plasma cutter he had been using and ducked behind a support beam as energy bolts scorched the air where he had been standing. He thought about the beacon, still transmitting in the corner of the room. Even if it worked, help would come too late. But maybe someone would know what happened here. Maybe their story wouldn't be forgotten. The hegemony soldiers advanced through engineering methodically, checking each hiding spot. Chen held his breath as footsteps grew closer. He could see the reflection of their armor in a piece of polished metal. 3 of them, moving in formation. He had 1 plasma cutter against 3 trained soldiers. The odds were impossible. But then Chen remembered something his grandmother used to say. Humans don't give up. Even when the odds are impossible, especially when the odds are impossible, we find a way. He adjusted the plasma cutter to its highest setting. It would only give him 1 shot before the power cell depleted, but 1 shot was all he needed. He aimed not at the soldiers, but at the coolant pipe running along the ceiling above them. The plasma beam cut through the pipe, and supercooled liquid cascaded down on the hegemony soldiers. Their armor wasn't designed for such extreme temperature changes. The metal cracked and their joints seized up, leaving them stumbling and vulnerable. Chen didn't wait to see the result. He ran, heading for the next defensive position, his heart pounding in his chest. Behind him, he could hear more soldiers entering engineering. They would find the beacon, but by then it wouldn't matter. The signal was already sent. In the medical bay, the wounded were beginning to arrive. Burns from plasma weapons, lacerations from shrapnel, broken bones from explosions. Anya worked without pause, her 4 hands moving with practiced precision as she treated human and alien alike. The fighting was getting closer. She could hear it through the walls, the distinctive sound of energy weapons and screaming. "Doctor, we're being overrun in Section 7, someone reported. Security Chief Okoro is requesting medical teams to the front. We can't spare anyone," Anya replied, not looking up from her patient. "Tell him to bring the wounded here." The lights flickered. Main power was failing. Emergency lighting cast everything in a red glow that made the green blood of a wounded Altarian look black. Anya continued working. She had taken an oath to heal, and she would honor it until the end. Commander Voss watched the tactical display with growing despair. Half the station was now in enemy hands. Her defenders were falling back to the central core, but they were running out of room to retreat. Casualties were mounting. She had maybe 100 defenders left against 3 times that many hegemony soldiers. "Commander," Torres said suddenly, his voice filled with something she hadn't heard in days. "Hope. I'm detecting something on long-range sensors. A ship just dropped out of quantum space. Hegemony reinforcements?" Kira asked, her heart sinking. "No, ma'am. The signature is, it's human. Against all odds, the tactical display showed a single contact at the edge of sensor range, moving toward the station at impossible speed." Kira stared at the readings, unable to believe what she was seeing. The energy signature was massive, far larger than any civilian vessel, and it was broadcasting a military identification code she didn't recognize. "Torres, confirm that reading," she ordered. "Confirmed, Commander. 1 human vessel, military configuration. Commander, they're accelerating beyond anything in our database." On his flagship, Sub-Commander Zektar received the same sensor data, a single human ship approaching his fleet of 8 vessels. He almost laughed at the absurdity of it. The humans were known as traders and explorers, not warriors. Their military was small, focused on defending their own sparse colonies. What could one ship do against the might of the hegemony? "Sub-Commander," his tactical officer reported, "the human vessel is not responding to our hails." "Then they will. Serve as an example," Zektar said. "Target the human ship. All weapons. Destroy it before it reaches the station." Back on Gamma 7, the fighting had reached the central core. Security Chief Okoro had lost 2/3 of his defenders, and those who remained were exhausted and low on ammunition. He had set up their final defensive line outside the habitat ring where the civilians were sheltering. Behind these barriers, there was nowhere left to retreat. A young volunteer, a Terran colonist named Rebecca, crouched beside him, her hands shaking as she held her weapon. She couldn't have been more than 20 years old. "Chief, are we going to die here?" Okoro wanted to lie, to give her hope, but he respected her too much for that. "Maybe. But if we do, we make sure those civilians have every second we can give them." Rebecca nodded, her grip steadying on her weapon. "My little brother is in there with the other kids. He's only 12. Then we give him 12 more seconds, 12 more minutes, 12 more hours, if we can," Okoro said. The hegemony forces were massing for their final push. Okoro could see them at the far end of the corridor, their armor gleaming in the emergency lighting. So many of them, and so few defenders left. He activated his comm unit one last time. "Commander Voss, they're about to breach the final line. It's been an honor serving with you." "The honor has been mine, Chief," Kira replied. "Hold as long as you can. Something's coming." In the medical bay, Dr. Reeves was performing emergency surgery on a critically wounded security officer when the doors burst open. She expected hegemony soldiers, but instead Chen stumbled in, supporting 2 wounded volunteers. "Doctor, engineering is gone," Chen reported. "They're pushing toward the core." "Get them on the tables," Anya ordered. As she worked, she asked, "Chen, that project you were working on, did it work?" Chen shrugged helplessly. "I don't know. I sent the signal, but even if someone heard it..." "Then we did everything we could," Anya said. She turned to her patients, focusing on what she could control: save lives, heal wounds, honor her oath. The station shook violently, not from weapons fire, but from something else. The lights flickered again, and for a moment, everything went silent. Then a voice echoed through the station's communication system. Not Zektar, not Commander Voss, but someone new. The voice was female, calm, and carried an undertone of barely controlled fury. Relay Station Gamma 7, this is Captain Sarah Mitchell of the United Earth Ship Retribution. We received your distress signal. Hold your positions. The cavalry has arrived. In the command center, Kira stared at the communication console in disbelief. Captain Mitchell, this is Commander Voss. You're 1 ship against 8. We appreciate the gesture, but with respect, Commander, you don't know what the Retribution is capable of. Maintain your defensive positions and keep your people away from the outer hull. Things are about to get violent. The Hegemony fleet opened fire on the approaching human vessel. Dozens of plasma beams and missiles streaked through space toward the Retribution. On any normal ship, such concentrated fire would have been devastating. But the Retribution was not a normal ship. Space seemed to bend around the human vessel. The plasma beams curved away harmlessly. The missiles lost their target lock and spiraled off into the void. The Retribution continued its approach, accelerating steadily. Impossible, Zektar breathed. What technology is this? His answer came, in the form of the Retribution's response. Ports opened along the human ship's hull, revealing weapons that looked nothing like the standard armaments known to the galaxy. They glowed with a blue-white light that hurt to look at directly. When they fired, they didn't shoot beams or projectiles. Instead, space itself seemed to tear. The first Hegemony cruiser simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next, it was an expanding cloud of atoms. The second ship tried to raise its shields, but the human weapons passed through them, as if they weren't there. The cruiser split in half, its atmosphere venting into space. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Zektar screamed, but it was too late. The Retribution moved through the Hegemony formation like a knife through paper. Its weapons fired with surgical precision, disabling engines, destroying weapon systems, leaving ships helpless, but not destroyed. Captain Mitchell was sending a message. She could destroy them all, but she was choosing to show mercy. Inside Gamma 7, the Hegemony soldiers received urgent orders to withdraw. The panic in their commanders' voices was unmistakable. The soldiers who moments before had been confident in victory now retreated in barely organized chaos. Okoro watched in amazement as the enemy fell back. All units hold position. Don't pursue. Let them go. The young volunteer, Rebecca, looked at him with tears in her eyes. We're going to live? Looks like it, kid. Looks like it. In engineering, Chen heard the retreat order echo through the empty corridors. He slumped against a bulkhead, exhaustion finally catching up with him. The beacon had worked. Against all odds, against all logic, someone had heard their call and answered. The Retribution took position between the station and what remained of the Hegemony fleet. Captain Mitchell's face appeared on screens throughout Gamma 7. She was younger than Kira had expected, perhaps 40 years old, with short black hair and eyes that held the intensity that spoke of someone who had seen too much war. Sub-Commander Zektar, Captain Mitchell said, her voice carrying across all frequencies. You have attacked a neutral station and threatened civilian lives. By the laws of the United Earth Military Code and the Interstellar Conventions, I am placing you under arrest for war crimes. You have no authority here, human, Zektar snarled, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. The Hegemony does not recognize your laws. Then recognize this, Mitchell replied. You have 2 options. Surrender and face trial or continue fighting and face annihilation. You've seen what my ship can do. I have 10 more on the way. It was a bluff. Kira could see it in the tactical data. There were no other ships coming. But Zektar didn't know that, and after seeing what one human ship could do, he wasn't willing to risk it. Command vessel standing down, came the report from Torres. The other Hegemony ships are powering down weapons. Throughout Gamma 7, a cheer went up. In the habitat ring, civilians emerged from hiding, embracing each other, crying with relief. Children who had been huddled in darkness ran to find their parents. The nightmare was over. But in the medical bay, the work continued. Dr. Reeves and her team treated the wounded, human and hegemony alike. She insisted on treating the enemy soldiers who had been left behind, despite protests from some of the station's defenders. "They're wounded and in our care," she said, firmly. "That makes them our responsibility." Captain Mitchell dispatched medical teams and engineers to assist the station. Marines in powered armor secured the hegemony soldiers who had surrendered, treating them firmly, but not cruelly. The contrast with how the hegemony had behaved was noted by everyone watching. "Commander Voss," Captain Mitchell said in a private communication, "I need to speak with whoever activated that emergency beacon." Chen was brought to the command center, still covered in grease and soot from the fighting. He stood nervously before the view screen as Captain Mitchell studied him. "That beacon you activated was pre-positioned by Earth military intelligence over a century ago," Mitchell explained. "Part of a network designed to alert us if humans anywhere in the galaxy were under threat. Most people forgot they existed. How did you know to activate it?" "I didn't," Chen admitted. "I was just desperate. I found it in storage and figured it was worth trying." Mitchell smiled. "Your desperation saved 3,000 lives. Earth Command is very interested in speaking with you." "Captain," Kira interrupted. "With respect, how did you get here so fast? Earth is thousands of light years away." "The Retribution isn't stationed at Earth, Commander. We're part of a new initiative. Rapid response vessels positioned throughout the galaxy, hidden, waiting. When humanity expanded to the stars, we seemed weak, disorganized. It was partly true, but it was also partly by design. We learned long ago that appearing helpless makes enemies overconfident." "So this was all planned?" Kira asked. "Not this specifically, but something like it. We knew eventually someone would mistake humanity's preference for peace as weakness. The Retribution and her sister ships exist to correct that mistake." Humanity's fury. The aftermath of the battle transformed Gamma 7 into something unprecedented in galactic history. Word spread quickly through quantum communications networks that a single human warship had defeated an entire hegemony battle squadron. Species that had dismissed humans as harmless traitors suddenly reconsidered everything they thought they knew. Commander Kira Voss stood in the repaired command center, watching as repair crews worked to undo the damage from the attack. The Retribution remained on station, a silent guardian that made everyone feel simultaneously safer and slightly nervous. The ship's true capabilities remained a mystery, even to those it had saved. Captain Mitchell had come aboard the station in person, something that surprised everyone. Most military commanders would have remained safely on their ship. But Sarah Mitchell walked the damaged corridors, spoke with the wounded, and helped with repairs alongside the work crews. "Your presence here changes everything," Kira told her, as they surveyed the damaged habitat ring. "The political implications alone, that's the point," Mitchell replied. "For too long, humanity has been seen as weak because we choose diplomacy over force. But choosing peace doesn't mean we can't wage war. It means we decide not to." In the medical bay, Dr. Reeves was treating the last of the wounded when an unexpected patient arrived. Sub-Commander Zektar had been injured when his own bridge exploded during the Retribution's attack. His injuries weren't life-threatening, but they required treatment. The hegemony commander lay on a medical bed, watching as the doctor he would have enslaved worked to heal him. "Why?" he asked her. "Why treat an enemy?" "Because that's what separates us from you," Anya replied simply. "We choose to be better than our worst impulses." Zektar was silent for a long moment. "Your human ship. What technology allows it to do such things?" "I'm a doctor, not an engineer. But from what I understand, humans have been developing defensive technologies for over a century. You just gave them a reason to reveal them." Security Chief Okoro was working with the Retribution's Marines to process the captured hegemony soldiers when he noticed something interesting. The Marines' powered armor was unlike anything he had seen before. It moved with the wearer like a second skin, enhancing their strength and speed beyond what should be possible. "Nice hardware," he commented to the Marine sergeant, a woman named Foster. "This is the basic model," Foster replied with a grin. "You should see what Special Forces gets to play with. How long has Earth been developing this stuff?" "Since first contact. Every species we met taught us something, either about technology or about the need to protect ourselves. We just kept it quiet because we didn't want to start an arms race." Chen was in engineering, working with teams from the Retribution to repair the station's power core when Captain Mitchell found him. She carried a data pad and wore an expression he couldn't quite read. "Mr. Chen, I've been authorized to make you an offer," she said. "Earth Command wants to recruit you." "Me? I'm just an engineer." "You're an engineer who kept his head in a crisis and activated a beacon that saved thousands of lives. We need people who can think creatively under pressure." Chen looked around at the damaged engineering section, then at the repair crews working to rebuild. "What about the station? They need me here." "The station will be fine. In fact, it's about to become one of the most important locations in human space, a symbol of human resilience and our willingness to protect those who can't protect themselves." The galactic response to the incident was swift and dramatic. The hegemony, facing the possibility of war with an opponent whose capabilities they didn't understand, agreed to peace talks. Other aggressive species took note and quietly canceled their own expansion plans. Meanwhile, smaller species who had lived in fear began reaching out to humanity for protection agreements. In a secured conference room on the station, Captain Mitchell met with Commander Voss and the station's leadership council. She laid out a data pad showing strategic projections and military assessments. "Earth Command wants to establish a permanent military presence here," Mitchell explained. "Not to occupy, but to protect. Gamma 7 would remain independent, but with a human fleet base attached." "That would make us a target," one council member argued. "You're already a target," Mitchell countered. "But now you'd be a defended target. The galaxy just learned that attacking locations under human protection has consequences." Kira studied the proposal. "What does Earth get out of it? A forward base, intelligence gathering, and most importantly, friends. Humanity has been alone among the stars for too long. It's time we started building real alliances, not just trade agreements." The vote was unanimous. Gamma 7 would accept human protection. 3 days after the battle, a ceremony was held in the station's main concourse. It was broadcast across the galaxy, a message to friend and foe alike. Captain Mitchell stood beside Commander Voss as they unveiled a plaque that would be mounted at the station's main entrance. It read, "On this day, 3,000 souls of 17 species stood together against tyranny. They were not abandoned. They were not forgotten. Humanity stands with those who stand for freedom." The crowd erupted in applause. Humans and aliens embraced. Children who had hidden in darkness days before now played in the light. The moment was more than just a celebration. It was a declaration. Humanity was no longer content to be observers in galactic affairs. Sub-Commander Zektar watched the ceremony from his cell. He would be transported to Earth for trial, the first war crimes tribunal involving an alien defendant. His career was over, his fleet destroyed, his empire's expansion halted, all because they had underestimated humanity. "You could have ruled peacefully," he said to Captain Mitchell when she visited him before his transfer. "Your technology could have made you conquerors." "Anyone can conquer with enough force," Mitchell replied. "It takes real strength to protect without oppressing, to have power and choose not to abuse it. That's what humanity offers the galaxy." As the hegemony prisoners were loaded onto transport ships, word came that 4 more human warships had arrived. They took defensive positions around the station, their presence a clear message to anyone watching. Gamma 7 was under human protection now. Chen ultimately accepted the offer to join Earth's military engineering corps. Before leaving, he returned to the storage room where he had found the beacon. There were dozens more crates, all with Earth, military markings, all decades old. How many other secrets had humanity hidden among the stars, waiting for the right moment? Dr. Reeves expanded her medical facility with equipment provided by the Retribution. She began training programs for combat medicine, teaching techniques to healers from multiple species. The station was becoming more than just a trading post. It was becoming a symbol of interspecies cooperation. Security Chief Okoro was offered a position with the Marines, but he declined. "This station is my home," he told Foster. "Someone needs to keep it safe when you're not around." "Fair enough," Foster replied. "But we're leaving you some upgraded equipment. Next time someone comes knocking, you'll be better prepared." The reconstruction of Gamma 7 proceeded rapidly with human assistance. New shield generators were installed, designed with technology that merged human innovation with the best of alien engineering. The station's weapons were upgraded from basic deterrence to serious defensive systems. But more importantly, the station's role in galactic society had fundamentally changed. Species that had never dealt directly with humans before now came to Gamma 7 to learn about these strange beings who had hidden such power behind merchant smiles. The stories they heard surprised them. Humans who had lived on the station for years, who had married aliens, raised mixed-species children, built businesses and friendships that transcended species boundaries. The humans weren't conquerors or isolationists. They were neighbors who happened to have very big sticks they preferred not to use. A month after the battle, an unexpected visitor arrived. The hegemony had sent an official diplomat, not to threaten but to negotiate. They wanted to understand how they had misread humanity so badly. The talks were held on Gamma 7, with Commander Voss mediating. "We observed your colonies, your trade, routes, your diplomatic missions," the hegemony diplomat said. "Nothing suggested you possessed such military capabilities." "That was intentional," the human ambassador replied. "We learned from our own history that advertising military strength invites challenges. Better to appear weak and surprise aggressors than appear strong and invite arms races." "But surely, someone knew, someone must have suspected." "Some did, but most dismissed the evidence. After all, why would a species with such powerful weapons choose to live peacefully among you rather than conquer you? It didn't fit the standard model of galactic power dynamics." The negotiations resulted in something unprecedented. The hegemony formally apologized for the attack and agreed to reparations. They also signed a non-aggression pact with humanity, the first of many such agreements that would follow. As the galaxy adjusted to this new reality, philosophers and historians began to reassess humanity's role in the cosmic order. The humans had introduced a new concept to interstellar politics: the protector who doesn't seek to rule. They had power but used it defensively. They had advanced technology but shared it freely with allies. They could have built an empire but chose instead to build a community. On Earth, the incident at Gamma 7 sparked widespread discussion. Some argued for a more aggressive stance, using their revealed military superiority to claim resources and territory. But the majority supported the current approach. Humanity would be the shield, not the sword. They would protect those who couldn't, protect themselves, and in doing so, build something stronger than any empire: trust. Captain Mitchell received new orders as the situation stabilized. The retribution was needed elsewhere. Another human colony was reporting suspicious activity from an aggressive species. As her ship prepared to depart, she met one last time with Commander Voss. "Thank you," Kira said simply. "You saved us all." "No," Mitchell replied. "You saved yourselves by refusing to surrender. We just gave you the time you needed. That's all anyone can do for another. Give them a chance." The retribution departed Gamma 7 with a full ceremony. The station's residents, human and alien alike, gathered to watch the warship leave. Children pressed against windows, waving goodbye to the ship that had saved them. Adults stood in silence, knowing they had witnessed history. As the retribution engaged its quantum drive and vanished into the void, it left behind more than just a protected station. It left behind proof that humanity was ready to take its place as guardians of peace in a galaxy that had forgotten such things were possible. The message was clear across the stars: harm those under human protection and face the consequences, but choose peace and find in humanity a friend unlike any other. The emergency beacon that Chen had activated was carefully preserved and placed in the station's museum. A plaque beside it told the story of desperate hours when 3,000 souls believed no help would come, until a human warship roared out of the void to prove them wrong. It became a shrine of sorts, a reminder that in the darkest moments, hope could still answer. Years later, when historians wrote about the transformation of galactic civilization, they would mark the battle of Gamma 7 as the turning point, not because of the military victory, but because of what happened after. The moment when humanity revealed not just their power, but their character. The moment when the galaxy learned that humans would rather build bridges than burn them, but would not hesitate to become the storm when innocents were threatened. The story spread across space, told in countless languages, becoming legend. How a station stood alone against impossible odds. How an ancient beacon called out to the void. How humanity answered with fury and mercy in equal measure. And how, in the end, the greatest strength wasn't in the weapons or the ships, but in the simple human belief that no one should stand alone in the dark. Gamma 7 thrived in the years that followed, becoming a hub of interspecies cooperation and cultural exchange. The station that had nearly died became a symbol of life, of resilience, of what could be achieved when different species stood together. And always, patrol ships bearing Earth's flag circled in the void nearby, silent guardians ensuring that never again would the station face the darkness alone. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were not weak because they chose peace. They chose peace because they were strong enough to enforce it. And when that peace was threatened, when innocent lives were at stake, humanity would remind the universe why even the vast emptiness of space could not silence the roar of a human warship coming to the rescue.